Alright, so, no introduction here really necessary. Like, this is going to be a crazy fight. It's Tony Ferguson versus Beneil Dariush. So, both these guys on a little bit different trajectories in their career. Beneil's on a 6-fight win streak. Tony's on a 2-fight losing streak, and they weren't close fights. Gaethje dismantled him. Oliveira dominated him on the mat. And, he's 37 now, so you can see the narrative. You can see why that narrative is being created that he's done. Because we've just seen this situation so many times, even more recently with Cowboy. He was looking fine until he just looked totally washed in his last fight against Morono. He was looking fine up until that point in his career. He didn't look great in the Price fight. Price is an awkward guy. But he looked fine in the fights before that, like the Pettis fight. But, it is what it is. These guys just, they hit a wall. They're gonna hit a wall. Father Time just doesn't wait for anybody. Except for Yoel Romero, I guess. But I feel like there's other factors at play with that guy. I'm not gonna say anything, but yeah, you can decide for what you want. And Tony Ferguson, he is quite long for the division, so he is bringing in a 4-inch reach advantage and a 1-inch height advantage. We'll break down the striking of these two. So for Beneil, he comes in as a southpaw. Tony likes to switch stance, quite unorthodox with his striking style. He'll just come in with unusual combinations. He's not going to throw your traditional 1-2. He's going to throw you like a jab and then a lead uppercut or something like that. He's just unorthodox with it. And the angles that he takes, unorthodox as well. And he always likes to be on the front foot. He barely ever takes a backward step. And for Beneil Dariush, I think his stand-up's looking better and better and sharper every fight. Like, he trains at that striker-heavy gym with Rafael Cordero. So I think, he's going to be sharpening his iron pretty much every day there, and he's going to be getting better and better. And his straight left is definitely his best punch, got a bit of pop behind it as well. He uses that body kick really nicely as well when the opponent's in orthodox and he's in southpaw. But what is a little concerning with Beneil is that he only uses upper body movement to avoid strikes. He doesn't have the best footwork, he keeps his hands low, so he is quite hittable. But he has okay reflexes, but he is quite hittable, and when he does get hit, he gets hit clean. But yeah, so for Tony Ferguson, he'll be looking to take advantage of that. He pretty much just forces himself into boxing range after he throws the lead left hook or the jab, and then he'll go for like a spinning elbow after that, because, he throws the jab out, and then he'll step forward, and he'll look to use that momentum to chain that together with another strike, like a teep to the body or a slashing elbow, spinning elbow, what have you. And he's got really sharp elbows, like he's got hard slashing elbows in the clinch, off bottom, and just even in boxing range. Like, he's very good at cutting his opponents, pretty much does it every single fight. He'll also use a lot of head movement in the pocket, but at range, I think his striking defense is a little bit better than Beneil Dariush's. He rolls with a lot of punches and parries a lot as well. But I do think he's a little bit better defensively in orthodox, but that does pretty much give Dariush all of his weapons if you do stay in orthodox, but I do think he's better defensively in orthodox. In southpaw, he can get caught quite a bit. And he also has a nice teep to the body kick, when his opponent is circling to their right, which is probably what Beneil is going to be doing in this fight, so I think he'll be landing that quite often. But, he does have his hands low when he's throwing these teeps, when he's throwing these kicks, and he does throw them in close range quite often, and you've seen him get dropped before when he does throw these kicks in close range. But yeah, as I've been saying, he forces himself into the pocket with the way that he strikes, the way he chains his combinations together. And what Beneil is going to be looking to do, he's going to be looking to level change, get into the body lock position or a clinch position, get the double unders. And he has been looking for takedowns a lot more in his recent fights, which I think is good because his grappling is very elite. It's high level. And ever since he got knocked out by Alexander Hernandez, he's been grappling a lot more, which I think is awesome for, longevity in his career, but also just to compete at the level which he should at versing the opponents that he should. I think, his grappling is going to get him there. And once he does get you onto the mat, if you're going to give your back, he's just going to take it, especially in a scramble, looks to grab onto the back body lock, jump back from there. He looks for the back body lock pretty much every time, looks to mat return after that, and then, get you on top. And he's got a very good top game. But Tony Ferguson, he is good anti-grappling. He has very good initial scrambles. He gets the butterfly hooks in, look to flip you over and then take top position from there, or just look to get back to his feet, attack leg locks, get back to his feet. We saw CDF Carlos Diego Ferreira have good success with that against Beneil Dariush. Yeah, Beneil couldn't hold him down for too long, but he was, getting a double leg pretty much whenever he wanted. And if Tony stuffs the takedown, he's very quick to lock in the Darce choke when he's in position to do so. Like if he stuffs the takedown, Beneil's on all fours or he's turtled up, Tony gets those long arms, those skinny long arms, and he'll lock that Darce up really quick. So Beneil's got a very good top game, but Tony Ferguson is very good off his back as well. He locks the guard up, starts throwing elbows. As I said before, he's got sharp, sharp elbows. He'll cut you open if you're not careful. And he'll go for arm bars, triangles off bottom. Sometimes those aggressive submission attempts off bottom do leave him getting his guard past a lot. And against a guy that like Beneil Dariush, who has good submission defense and a good top game, it's a dangerous proposition if you're going to go for those submissions, because he'll look to stack and sweep, and he'll be in side control, and you'll be in trouble there, because once Charles Oliveira got in side control, Tony pretty much didn't have an answer after that. So how these guys win fights, so for Beneil Dariush, he's a legit Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt with smooth transitions on top and good submission defense, which I talked about just then. And he's got a bit of power in his left hand. With killer instinct, once he does get you hurt, he will go for the kill. And for Tony Ferguson, he's got fantastic cardio, fantastic volume. He's got suffocating pressure, which breaks a lot of his opponents. And he's got good durability, good recoverability, even at 37. Seems to be quite durable, good chin. And he's got a bit of low-key power too. Like both these guys have a bit of under-the-radar power. When Tony sits down his punches, he can seriously knock people out with one punch. And he's also got the damage with the elbows that he can do. And that brings in, doctor stoppages into play and all that kind of stuff. So he can do a lot of aesthetic damage, superficial damage to the face with his sharp elbows. How these guys lose fights? So for Tony Ferguson, it's his aggressive style. It's kind of a double-edged sword. He's going to be walking onto big shots. He's going to be walking onto big punches, and he's going to be walking onto takedowns. And that just comes with the style. And for Beneil Dariush, he is quite hittable. He's flat-footed. Doesn't have the best range awareness as well. I think head is a lot of the time is on center line, even though he has his hands low and tries to use that upper body movement to avoid strikes. He can get clipped quite often. And he will just drop the game plan and just brawl at times. Like, you can really bait him into a brawl quite easily, which I love as a fan, but you just have to be aware of as a tipper or a bettor. And also, fighters that utilize a lot of footwork and try to be very evasive, which is not Tony Ferguson the slightest, but I'm talking about more fighters like Michael Johnson, Michael Chiesa, Evan Dunham. They really gave him problems with the movement. Path to victory for these two. For Tony Ferguson, obviously the forward pressure, I don't really have to say that because he just does it every fight. Look for the check left hook as Beneil, tries to close distance. And I think left hooks would be a good weapon for you here, because I do believe that side of Beneil is quite open, and he has been caught with left hooks from orthodox opponents quite a bit in the past. But also, once he does close distance, look to meet him with a straight elbow. Look to cut him up, pretty much a counter two, but change it into an elbow at times, and look to catch him, because he does close distance quite aggressively. He will walk onto that elbow, I believe. And if he gets you down, look for elbows and get-ups off bottom. Don't mess around with the submission attempts. He's going to look to pass the guard that way. I don't think you're going to catch him with a submission attempt, so lock the guard up, elbows, once he's taken a breath or he's trying to recover, and then look to get back to your feet. Or if he gives you any space, look to get back to your feet. Especially in the third round when he's trying to, recover on top and get some rest time on top. Look to really punish him with elbows, but also just get back to your feet. And for Beneil, look for the leg kicks when he switches southpaw. Tony's had problems with the leg kicks in the past. Look for the teep to the liver when he's in orthodox. That's open for you in the southpaw position. Look for takedowns. Look for the reactive double when he advances after he pops the jab out and then he starts walking forward. Then you go for the reactive double. And once you do get him down, don't play in his guard. Like, you don't really need to. Look to get in half guard, stay very tight, or just look to pass guard. Because that's what Charles do Bronx had a lot of success with in their fight. He looked to pass the guard. He didn't sit in Tony's guard and let him throw elbows up. He looked to pass guard and then really control from there in dominant positions. And I feel like, Charles Oliveira wrote the blueprint for what you should do here. How I see the fight playing out? This is such a good fight. Like, match Tony Ferguson up with anybody and you've piqued my interest. Like, the guy's an absolute enigma and there's nobody like him in the UFC. But, Beneil Dariush, he comes to bring it as well. He's taken home a lot of bonuses lately. It's going to be a crazy fight. A few X factors at play here. I think 3 rounds definitely favours Dariush. Tony is a slow starter, he generally drops the first round, and I still have my reservations about, Beneil's cardio, so I'd like to see that. Like, selfishly, I wish this was 5 rounds, just so I could see how Beneil paced himself over 5 rounders, but, he does seem to have solid enough cardio for 15 minutes or 3 round fights. And also, this will be in a normal size octagon, not the smaller one at the Apex, so I think that favours Tony, as he has more space for his rolls, more space for his sprawls, more space for footwork, and to set up all of his techniques. On the feet, I think the unorthodox nature of Tony's stand-up will give Beneil a few problems. I believe they'll exchange quite a bit early on, with Beneil landing the better shots, and maybe even hurting Tony, early on. But I do think Tony will find a lot of success later on in the fight, once he's got the rhythm of Beneil, and once Beneil maybe starts slowing down after the pace that Tony puts on him. But also, in my opinion, I think Tony is the hardest puncher Beneil's faced in a minute, and Benny is very hittable. I wouldn't be shocked at a KO from Tony Ferguson here. He does have some low-key power. But where it gets dicey for Tony is that if Beneil wants to take it to the mat, which I expect he will, I don't think he's going to mess around the feet for too long, honestly. I think he's going to try and replicate the success that Charles Oliveira had on the mat and just look to, control him on the mat, take him down whenever Tony closes distance. Tony hasn't faced too many good top players in his UFC career. I'd probably only say 2, Kevin Lee and Charles Oliveira. And Kevin Lee was winning that fight until he ran out of gas after the second round, and Charles Oliveira just basically dominated him on the mat, like it wasn't close at all. And I think Beneil's going to try and do the exact same thing. I don't think he's going to mess around the feet too much. It could be dangerous him playing in Tony's guard, but if he's able to pass guard or take Tony's back, then I think it's the round over or maybe even fight over. Will he be able to do that? I do believe so, yeah. So yeah, my heart is telling me Ferg. I want Ferg to win, because he's one of my favourite fighters, so, the fan in me, I guess. But my mind and the logic is telling me that Dariush just out-grapples him for 15 minutes. And I don't think Tony's washed by any means, but I do think he's absolutely on a decline, and this is a similar matchup to what the Charles Oliveira fight was, and that wasn't close at all. And I might even say that Beneil Dariush has better Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu than Charles Oliveira. I'd say that. So yeah, I do think Beneil Dariush is going to control Tony on the mat 15 minutes, or he'll find a sub or a TKO. So yeah, that is the prediction here, and let's go have a look at the betting lines. Yeah, so the prediction is Dariush. I think Tony's going to survive. I think it's going to be a decision. So yeah, I pretty much agree with the line. I think that's exactly where it should be, honestly, and maybe even a little bit lower for Dariush. I think he should probably be a little bit of a bigger favourite than that, just because of the path to victory and that it's so viable in this case. So yeah, I'd probably bet Dariush if his price keeps going up. I'm kind of hoping that a lot of, Tony Ferguson's got a huge fan base, and it's a big card. So in these big cards, a lot of the betting action is kind of decided by fans just rushing, or casual bettors just rushing in and, betting their favourite fighters. So I'm kind of hoping for a better price on Beneil at the end of the week, but I don't think he'll represent this money line anyway, just at the price that he's at the moment. So yeah, tough one to say, tough pill to swallow, but I do think Beneil Dariush is going to win here.